I'm joined here today by an MMA fighter, a bare knuckle boxer, referee, judge, also a coach, a man of many things, of course, in this industry. I'm talking about the one and only Chris Leben. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Did I miss anything on all the jobs? I know I listed off a bunch of stuff. Did I miss anything?
uh, that's pretty much it. Father, trying to raise a kid in this mess right now too.
Right.
So that's quite a duty.
For sure. Are you currently in California? I assume, obviously, under quarantine like everybody else?
Yeah. California. I'm in San Diego, so all the way down here at the bottom of Southern California. And yeah, we're pretty much on the lockdown program right now, so it's pretty lame.
How's that going for you so far? Have you gone crazy yet?
I mean, I'm normally such a busy guy, and I'm always doing I'm either training, like you said, I'm reffing or something, something going on all the time. And then when I am with the family, we're always, we're out hiking or we're at the zoo or SeaWorld or we're going to the mall, and so it's just a little difficult for me right now to have this extra time with the family, which is wonderful, which I
Right.
don't normally get. But my poor kid, man, I've walked him every different direction around the neighborhood that I can go, while attempt to avoid all the parks because he sees the park he wants to
Right.
run in. Everything at my house is immaculate. Everything that needs to be hung
Right.
up is hung up. There's not, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm not a video game guy. I'm not a big TV guy. Only thing I do, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but that's pretty much it. So, and I've just been burning through them. I mean, there's not a lot for me to do once you cut the gym out of the equation.
So how are you currently staying in shape? Because I've talked to a lot of people, they're struggling. A lot of them, it's like, man, you got to put down the Cheetos. You got to try to do some push-ups or something. How's that going for you?
Well, it's actually been going really good because luckily I have access to the weight room. I don't get to work out with anybody, which is pretty tough, I've been able to sneak in there by myself and do weights at least a couple times a week. And then my poor old lady, she told me she wanted to. She's been trying to diet and lose weight for years and never lost a pound. She's already down 10 pounds. I've been home because I've forced her to be my workout partner. So
Right.
um, I've been putting her in the plastics and walking like 5 miles a day at least. So I'm doing the same thing, just to keep the weight down.
And so I do want to talk to you about your MMA career a little bit. It is the first time we're talking, so I get to pick your brain on some stuff, man. But first things first, how do you look back on your time on The Ultimate Fighter all those years ago?
Well, there's a couple different ways to look at it. I mean, for me, obviously, a lot of mistakes, a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, a lot of, would you have done things differently? And the answer is, at this point in my life, I don't think so. With sobriety and everything that I've been through, I feel like, the mistakes that I made in my MMA career and whatnot, set me up to be where I'm at now to hopefully benefit some other people. And you know what? You got to look at it in a positive light because you can't change the past. You know what I'm saying? You can't change it. There's that aspect. And then there's the other aspect. When I look back at it, man, it was wild times. I'm glad they're over. You know what I mean?
Right.
But definitely something amazing to be part of. That first thing, Ultimate Fighter, fighting in the UFC when I was, how fast the sport was growing at the time, just the storm was the UFC. To be there through all that was a lot of fond memories.
And so on the show, I mean, easily, you're the most entertaining person on there. Do you have people that go back and watch the show and that reach out to you because the fact they saw you on there? Because I think it got a lot of eyeballs on you.
All the time. all the
Yeah.
time. Somebody's making, like, I'll be at the store and somebody will make a joke about spritzing or, and I'm like, dude, this shit is like 15 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I mean, I've done some other shit since then. Like, I don't
Right.
know if you guys know, but I've been busy. So I mean, that's cool. The just how household names out of fighters, how worldwide this show was, and the effect that people are still talking about it. Here we are 15 years later. So I think it's big in those proportions. But also it's like, dude, fucking, it's been 15 years. You know what I mean?
And so you mentioned it's been 15 years, but 15 years later, are you still in contact with some guys from there? I assume people like Koscheck and Southworth. That's kind of out of the question, but are there people from there you still talk to?
Here and there, probably. Stephen Bonner has been out to San Diego a couple times. I talked to him on the phone occasionally. So I stay in touch with Stephen, and then the other guys. Obviously, fighting has been and still is a small world. So I'll see Kenny here or somebody somewhere. I talk to Nate Corey every once in a while. Uh, you know, we had a union, maybe a year and a half or so ago, and I got to see
Right.
everybody. Everybody doing well. A lot of people are still in the industry in one way or another, and I randomly come across those guys.
For sure. I want to talk to you about something else. Towards the end of your career, I mean, your last fight ended up being Uriah Hall, and you did try to make the comeback with Bellator. But do you have any regrets with the way your career ended? I mean, if you could go back, would you have done things differently?
The UFC, yeah, yeah. I mean, the bottom line is I wasn't in the right state of mind. I wasn't fighting for the right reasons. I had some major issues going on outside of the cage, and it was unfortunate that I couldn't get myself together at the end there. Um, but that being said, um, you can't change the past. One and two. That's what's been wonderful about this bare knuckle. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but I was able to nurse myself back to health, and then I had the opportunity to go out there and fight some two first round knockouts, and my last one might not by the judges I might have lost, but I went out there and I fought a 5 round war. Broke my orbital, got like 36 stitches. My nose was ripped off, and I never stopped fighting. And that's who I am. That's the old Chris Leben, and if I never fight again, that's the fight I get to leave combat sports on. So
Right.
in that aspect, being able to turn my life around and come back and do what I've done now, it's pretty neat actually.
And so I know a few years back there was a lot of talk that you'd sign with Bellator. We are going to see you make the comeback, and I believe a heart issue stopped you from doing that. Is the things with Bellator, is it completely over, or is there a possibility we might see you fight professionally in MMA again?
No, it's pretty much POW. Uh, they did. We signed a contract. Everything else, my health, unfortunately, did not allow me to honor that contract. And it was unfortunate. And it took me several years. I mean, at first they were saying I needed a new heart. My cardiologist had me on a zero workout routine. No working out at all. Even though I never stopped working out for a day. And then they wanted to put a pacemaker in me. And I turned that down. Kind of the thinking at the time was, she's like, well, I just got to let there's this percent chance that you will die in the next year if you don't get this pacemaker. And I said, well, can I do jujitsu? And she was, well, no, not with the pacemaker, and you can't. I said, so I went home. I talked to my old lady, and I was like, you know what? That percent, that is for the people that don't stop drinking, the people that don't change their life and switch. I'm changing everything. I'm never drinking again. I'm never using any drugs again. I don't think I need it. And luckily, that was true because my heart. I came back and she said, "Well, amazing. I don't know what you're doing, uh, but it's in con for several more checkups the next 2 years where the cardiologist was more or less, well, I've never seen this. Usually people plateau when they've had the issues that you've had, and I did use some Chinese medicine, some certain herbs, but also I think more important than anything is the body will heal itself. You just got to get the fuck out of the way, and stop putting the poison in it, and in my case, that's what I did, and it healed to the point where my cardiologist was like, you're low end of normal for an adult now, so I am within the normal range, and cleared me to compete in combat sports again.
And that's really great to hear. Obviously, it's very inspiring for a lot of people. So why choose bare knuckle boxing instead of going back into MMA?
Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's super cool. I actually really like the idea of you know being 60 years old, 70 years old, and telling my grandkids bare knuckle boxing stories. Being a part of the founding, more the refounding of this sport. Two, I'm sure you've obviously seen one or two of my fights, so let's be
Right.
honest. It does play well to my attributes. It's
Right.
ring. You can't take somebody down and hold them. You got to stand in front of them and swing. And for me, I'll take that bet. Most of the time, I'll take that bet with pretty much anybody. And then also, they're the first ones to call. Dave Feldman called and offered me, and at first I said no. Then I went back, I looked at it, and I said, you know what? Yeah, this really is right up my alley. So I called him back and said, I think, I'm interested.
And a big thing people look at with the bare knuckle boxing is the fact that guys are breaking their hands. I mean, you mentioned I believe you had 37 stitches in your face and stuff like that. What do you think about the damage? Do you think that's something that's blown out of proportion, or is that just something you have to know going into bare knuckle boxing?
I mean, I think you need to update. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a trade off there. Certainly you can't take the same amount of shots to the head. So as far as concussion goes, and absolutely, I think it's probably less than MMA and definitely less than boxing. But broken hands and lacerations, superficial as a laceration may be, that's going to happen, and you're going to end up with some scar tissue. So in my opinion, I think for the overall health of the human being long term, I don't think bare knuckles that bad. What I would say though is, listen, if you're a 21-year-old kid and you want to go to the UFC one day, I probably wouldn't jump into bare knuckle boxing. I probably wouldn't risk the scar tissue at that point. So it depends on who you are and where you're at in your career, what you're trying to do. You know, but yeah, major risk, that the real danger of permanent health damage, I think, is probably less. But lacerations are going to happen.
And so, are you currently still a bare knuckle boxer, or are you retired now? Do you think we'll see you fight again? What's kind of your status as a fighter there?
That's a good question, huh? Well, I was supposed to be fighting on the April show.
Right.
Um, you know, I was supposed to be fighting on the April show, and obviously that's not going to work out. I've been postponing some other things in my life while I'm doing this, the bare knuckle stuff. And I feel like it's just pushing back some of the other things that I want to do. So, there might be one more, might not. Honestly, it's going to be, me and Dave are going to have to talk about it, and decide. I've got some things that I have to weigh. Time frames and whatnot. You know, if we're not going to have bare knuckle boxing for a year, I'll probably need to move on, you know. But if it's only going to be a few months, you know, then maybe I'll think about it. But right now, just being perfectly honest with everybody, it's really up in the air for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, martial arts is my life. I'm a fighter through and through. Um, but like I was saying earlier, you know, as far as what's with the bare knuckle and my comeback to bare knuckle, I've accomplished what I set out to accomplish. One, you know, I got those couple knockouts. Those are great, but most important, that last fight, I fought a tie for 5 rounds. You know, I had some things leading up to the fight that didn't work out in my favor, and you know, according to the judges, the fight itself didn't work in my favor. That's fine, but the bottom line is, I didn't finish my career on the stool. You know, which for me
Right.
is it is what I set out to do, to prove not just to everybody else, but to prove to myself the fighter that I am, the person, the real Chris Leben. You know, and I feel like I've done that. You know, and so I'm good at this point. I'm good either way.
So there is something I want to get your take on. It seems like a lot of fighters, every time we get a controversial decision and everything, they're always saying, oh, we need more former fighters to be judges and things like that. As a former fighter yourself, who is also a judge among the many things, what's your take on that? Do you think there's something that maybe the fighters don't realize about that? Or what's kind of your take on that whole situation?
Well, I do think that it's good to set certain jobs aside, athletes when they retire, so that they have something to phase into. Not everybody can be a commentator. You know what I mean? So obviously, being a former athlete, you're going to understand the intricacies of the game pretty well. That's to say that other people aren't. That's not to say that there's a lot of people that have never fought in their life that are phenomenal judges. But I do think that there's definitely a place for fighters, you know, in judging and refereeing, and I think definitely uh, it plays to making a good judge, and more importantly, a good referee. I mean, you can understand when a guy's hurt, when a guy's given up, um, when a guy's just defending to stay alive, and when he really still thinks he can win it. Those are all intuitive parts of being a referee. Because after all, fighter safety is number one, but also you want to give them every chance in the world. So they're. I mean, we have certain rules, but there's also parts of it that kind of fall on your senses. You've got to be able to read those individuals in the cage. And I think, so if you fought and coached for a long time, that's going to rely on you doing that well.
All right, and I just have one last question for you, and then we'll let you go get back at it. What's the first thing you're going to do when you're finally free from the quarantine and being stuck inside the house?
Ah, jiu-jitsu, man.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu. I've never been this long without training, striking or grappling. This is the longest I've been in over 20 fucking years. Going crazy, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna go back and do some grappling. Especially because I spent the last couple of months working solely boxing, yeah, and preparing for the event. As soon as this quarantine's over, I'm gonna get on the mat.
All right. Well, hopefully that won't take too long, man. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Stay safe out there, and I hope your family stays safe as well.
Right on, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me, dude. Appreciate it.